speaking out from somewhere inside. A ray of sunlight that reaches the skin from a star in a galaxy somewhere within. Under clouds in a forest on a cold winter's day, the fire of summer seems lifetimes away. In the eye of a beggar in rags on the street, the cold of despair has frozen his heat. The beauty we hide is speaking out from somewhere inside. A ray of sunlight that reaches the skin from a star in a galaxy somewhere within. But even then, in the middle of the night, life grows invisibly, threaded with light beneath oceanic ignorant waves. The joy of existence crashes and rains. A babbling madman in prophetic tones, a woman in mourning with piteous groans, volcanoes of spirit shaking the rocks, thieves in the dark are picking our locks. The beauty we hide is speaking out from somewhere inside. A ray of sunlight that reaches the skin from a star in a galaxy somewhere within. The love in our hearts, the light of our eyes, shine through the clouds, unable to die. Breaking the idols of lips carved in stone, our beauty breaks forth to stand on its own. The beauty we hide is speaking out from somewhere inside. A ray of sunlight that reaches the skin from a star in a galaxy somewhere within. The beauty we hide is somewhere inside. The beauty we hide is somewhere inside.
Well, that was The Beauty We Hide, sung and produced by world-famous composer, musician, and vocalist Thomas Barquee from the album Trust. And the lyrics were by Jeffrey Armstrong, and this enchanting album is available on Amazon and Shopify. It's wonderful seeing you tonight, and I'll turn over to my co-host, Benny.
Namaste and Hare Krishna, and welcome to everyone this evening. My name is Balabhadra Bhattacharya Das. I'm the president of the Vedic Friends Association, VFA. Jeffrey Kavindra is also a member, one of the founding members of VFA, as well as VASA. And we're just happy to have all of you here tonight. We had a few technical things in the beginning, but take it like a rock concert. They never start on time. Nothing works, the plugs don't work, the guitars don't work. But anyway, we're gonna have a fun time tonight. And this is something that I have been desiring for a long time with Kavindra. And we talk a lot, and whenever we talk on the phone, he always recites poetry. So I begged him, I said, you have to do it for the crowd tonight. So he agreed to do it. So thank you so much. And now I think, Sandi, you can give a brief description of the program itself, the mystical poetry.
Thanks, Betty. Well, mystical poetry contains many secrets and nuances of meaning that were given by or inspired by divine arrangement. The poet is merely the instrument of this process. Kavindra has been writing poetry since he was 13, and to date, he's written over 2,000 poems on various subjects in many different styles. But these particular poems literally drop down in a few minutes. He hardly can write as fast as they come out. They require no editing other than spelling, and they really, truly are a gift from the divine. Mystical poetry seeks to reproduce the very subtle states of spiritual perception. In India, the Bhakti and Tantric schools of mystical poetry speak in a voice that longs for intimacy with the divine beloved. They attempt to reveal the emotions engaged in the relationship between the Atma and the immortal lover, the supreme Isha. As an initiate of these ancient teachings, Kavindra embodies and is able to pass on the sublime fruits of these sacred traditions. These poems initiate the listener directly into the ecstatic emotional states of spiritual bliss. His poems are literally windows into the divine realm that were revealed to him during profound states of meditation. They are an expression of the possibility of ultimate intimacy and profound emotion one can share with the divine, according to the Bhakti Yoga tradition of the Vaishnava mystics. These poems can be read again and again as a means of altering your consciousness. In fact, they're almost a kind of drug or a very concentrated liqueur that can be quite intoxicating for the Vaishnava Bhakti yogi. I'll turn that back over to Benny. I hope that was a brief introduction and give you an idea of what mystic poetry is all about. Think of Rumi or Tagore, these kind of poets, and Kavindra. Benny?
Wonderful, wonderful. I have a special verse for Jeffrey Kavindra. It's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, translated by our spiritual master, our guru. He and I have the same guru, Bhaktivedanta Swami. And this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is for you, Kavindra. Tumi Bada Pandita Mahakavi Shiromani, Yanra Muke Bahirai Aiche Kavya Vani. Translation. You are the most learned scholar and the topmost of all great poets. For otherwise, how could such fine poetry come from your mouth? Hare Krishna. So I'm going to read a little introduction about Kavindra Rishi, or Jeffrey Armstrong. He's a best-selling author of numerous books, including an award-winning book of poems, The Night We First Met, A Mystic Journey, and most recently, a decolonized, clear, and elegant translation of the Bhagavad Gita titled, The Bhagavad Gita Comes Alive. He's also a Jyotishi, Vedic scholar, and mystical poet. He was initiated in 1970 and spent 5 years in the ashrams of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He studied Sanskrit with the Benares Pandit, Professor Ramanath Sharma, Jyotish, with the illustrious Jyotirvid M.K. Gandhi. In addition, he assisted his guru in editing various books, including the Bhagavad Puran. Many will remember the widely renowned Change of Heart album, plus 3 others, Nature's Secret, Take Me Back, and Excuse My Soul. from that same era. Jeffrey wrote or edited many of the lyrics on those albums, which were composed and performed by Michael Cassidy. Jeffrey is an initiated practitioner of the Vedic knowledge for the past 50 years. He has constantly practiced and meditated upon the deep meaning and profound mystic visions contained in the original Sanskrit poems. So it mentioned about change of heart, and I have to say this, and Jeffrey knows what I mean by this, that I am part of one of the oldest Hare Krishna bands in the world. It's called the Murari Band. So when we started in 1975, we didn't have a name. It was just myself and our sister, God's sister, Nardi. So at that time, the Change of Heart album was out. So the first name of our band was the Change of Heart Band. And we did all the songs, but I had not met Jeffrey yet. I only met Jeffrey, how many years? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I was completely, my mind was blown that he is the person that wrote the songs that affected my life to this day. And today I was downtown Atlanta with Nardi, the co-founder of the band, and we were singing and we were talking about you, the great memories that you've given us. So blessings to you. And we're just waiting to hear your poems for everyone tonight. Thank you so much, Kavindra. Hare Krishna. So everyone, please welcome Kavindra Rishi, Jeffrey Armstrong.
Thank you, Balabhadra Das, my dearest friend and divine in the same line of beauty and elegance. The most unique feature of bhakti to the artist is that it finally makes ultimate sense out of beauty, because beauty is the motivating force behind all of this compulsion that the artist feels to make that beauty more visible in the world around us. Partially because, except for the world, we humans are so often creating chaos and destruction rather than beauty. And therefore, it's a rare and delicate and amazing occupation to allow oneself to be the musical instrument through which that beauty passes. In bhakti, that beauty goes back to a being and not just to an abstraction, not to a oneness, not to merely an emptiness, all steps along the way. But it goes back to the ultimate interaction with the source of beauty, and that is Vaishnava Bhakti Yoga. And so, for all of us who have these experiences, they are a kind of waking up. Even if we appear to be awake, we could be sleepwalking. This first poem is called An Ancient Memory is Awakening. The ground of my being is shaking. Some kind of seismic event is in the making, as if an ancient memory is waking. A continent submerged is rising, whose magnitude I am now just realizing. With artifacts that some mystery are symbolizing. The I once knew has disappeared. Some other culture, remotely engineered, is arising from the dark into which I peered. This place is not an ancient museum filled with bones and skulls, or a mausoleum with howling ghosts begging someone to free them. It is a planet made of light, shining somehow in the empty night, toward which I have been flying with all my might. Like an astronaut lost in space, an Argonaut who set out to find this place without a compass and only trusting grace, yet now it is within my scope. Worn and battered, I a bedraggled misanthrope. Yet this world arises like a sun of golden hope, But how then can I take its measure or calculate the value of its treasure if I alone can see its sky of azure? Who will believe a dreaming poet whose fumbling words may not be able to show it? An astronomer alone at night tracking a comet. But I have landed and held the initial meeting, learned their language, received their heartfelt greeting. Now they feed me, and light is what I'm eating. From that light, a myriad of forms evolve, perfection, loving, electrical storms, endless, joyful being that never conforms, moving lines of wondrous syncopation, flashing forth in sweet articulation, poetic phrases of cryptic imagination. I cannot leave. They have me mystified. May now be dead and find that living lied. Who ever doubted that such beauty could be found? Who ever doubted or could translate the meaning of their speech? An archaeologist in their bright world in reach. Who might such wonders understand and teach? It cannot be, yet is what I now speak for. This hidden world and I, their strange ambassador. There is another realm, a hidden door, through which once finally going, more wonders than we can dream are glowing, knowing which perfects all knowing. The ground of my being now is broken, and this poem is just a shard, a stone, a token. The only evidence is these words that I have spoken. In our journey, our desires lead us forward. But again and again, we have a few moments with what we desire and then it goes away. And so we either become cynical and no longer believe it's possible, or it becomes our grand search. This next poem is called, Could Our Desire for Joy Be Truth at Last? Listen, friend, for time cannot be trusted. This life of ours is a puzzle upon a table. It is a lock whose key has somehow rusted. But we must find the secret while we are able. First, observe we do not want to die. We cling to life, we cling to youth, and do not wish to age. The pain of birth causes all to cry, and disease overtakes us at a certain stage. Notice how we resist the idea of death. Desire stays fresh until our dying day. We swim in air, unconscious of our breath. We are forced to work, yet wish that we could play. At first we seek the pleasures of this world, and then become an addict to our passion. Swept by circumstances, our life is hurled down paths unknown, by politics or fashion. We work for fools, serve masters with no name, go into debt for things we do not need, neglect our true self while chasing gain and fame, driven by anger, a prisoner of greed. As children, we are impatient to be old. In youth, we burn too hot and waste our breath. In old age, we lament, turn gray, go cold, and spend our savings trying to run from death. Each animal has a natural habitat. They mate in season, live their lives and die. But humans have no home. Think on that. We are the only creatures who wonder why, building dams and bridges, flying to space, 8-lane freeways polluting the planet's air, we drive and are driven in the endless human race, but in the end, our race is going where? Is it progress, making our wheels go faster, surrounded by strangers with phones? We are alone. Have we not become the means of our own disaster, reaping the seeds of destruction that we have sown? Seeing all this, some argue we should renounce, give up desire, enter the endless void. In sadness and frustration, they denounce the beauty and pleasure previously enjoyed. No supreme, no Atma, no joy, just emptiness. An addict in withdrawal, a silent stone. Annihilation becomes their happiness. Iconoclastic, they sit in the dark alone. To enter the void and remove the self, they chant, counting breaths in silence and retreat. Nirvana, the path of those who live but cannot. Detachment without beauty is defeat. Ponder this. Is the sum of life a zero? Are beauty and truth and love an empty illusion? Or are we on a quest, an immortal hero, trying to wake and find our true conclusion? Another view that haunts us is the one. The drop becomes the ocean, its teachers say. Your you will be the all when you are done. Homogenize. Give up your personal way. The world is illusion. Form is an ancient lie. Distinctiveness is a web illusion wove. But only oneness means that love must die. For immortal individuals are the ones who love. Those who don't know speak, the pundits opine, and those who speak don't know, they again repeat, not seeing the flaw in their argument's design, that saying not to speak is their defeat. Another oneness trick is called the now, as if there was just one from which to choose. But if there was, we would already know how, and oneness would mean no one could ever lose. And teachers of oneness could not presume to teach unless there was another to teach it to, which makes the oneness a thing no one can preach without becoming illusioned by the two. So think again. Is oneness what we seek? Is merging in an ocean why we tried to live our joy and reach the mountain's peak? Is the truth of our uniqueness that divinity lied? Then what is left if drowning in the one is the trap in which unknowing Atmas are caught, and the void is an empty room with joy for none, if the world is a place of death with danger fraught? But what if our final choice is a realm of love, where Atmas enjoy throughout eternity? What if this world is reflected from above, a photograph of the place we are meant to be? Could our desire for joy be the truth at last? Our attraction to beauty the symptom we are whole? Our nature to live where anxiety is in the past? Could the pleasures of endless loving be our goal? And next, we've seen a miraculous thing in the last 30, 40 years. After colonization did so much damage in the world, and especially to India, to Bharat, wave after wave of yoga practitioners started coming to the West, not just from India, but the whole world began to participate. There are hundreds of millions of yogis. Because yoga is the activity that blind faith religion does not offer. Yoga is the individual finding the ultimate and entering into a loving, intimate relationship. This next poem is about yoga, and it's called Kriya yoga, aha. In order to remember the secret of your existence, you must burn like an ember through the darkness and resistance. In order to excavate the treasure buried within, you must not meditate on the images made of skin. If you would like to learn the purpose for which we exist, that fire is where we yearn and fight without a fist. The journey begins with questions, alone in the dark at night. The answers improve your digestion. The lamp in your heart starts to light. The toys that used to amuse you sit unused on your shelf. Now excitement is finding a clue in the search for your permanent self. In order to see, you must focus, one-pointed, your eyes on the goal, beyond the world's hocus pocus. That has had us in its control. To regain your vision, distractions must not cause your purpose to waver, and thought must be turned into actions, so truth starts to rule your behavior. Then bowing before what is greater shows that the ego has cracked. This allows you to become a creator and quickly absorb what you lacked. Then a rush of deep feelings will flood the desert inside, whose blooming will soon be revealing the beauty within that you hide. That inner world so enchanting will quickly become your new home as your tongue gets addicted to chanting. The opium of yogis is Om. A drug that will heal the distortions. The thorn will give way to the rose as your body regains its proportion and the life force leads to each pose. Your now steady mind will not waver when the winds of change shake the world. Your Atma will seek a new flavor, stretching below where she's curled. Awakening now from her slumber, your Kundalini will arise with flashes of lightning and thunder. Shedding all mortal disguise, she'll dance in the joy of arising, dropping the 8 veils of matter, at last your true self realizing, while climbing the cosmic ladder. This yoga will lead you toward union, while unity holds the design. Your eagerness for a reunion will lead you to the divine. Past the shining realms of the devas, beyond Indra's net of the stars, now dreaming of bhakti and seva. Old habits and vrittis and scars burn up like a comet's tail in the blazing fire transcendental, far up the Shushumna trail, way up but unable to fall. Samadhi, the now waiting lover, nirvana no matter is mine. Amrita, the drink you discovered, the nectar that saves you from wine. The portals now open to Brahman, bright home of all yogis in sight. There the gardens of sweet Bhagavan are waiting to share their delights. Tapasya, Svadhyaya, Pranidhan. O Ishvara, I long to return, to walk in the fields of Vrindavan, to dance with you when it's my turn. I hunger to taste from your hands the ambrosia of sweet loving grace, to rejoin your eternal band, and again see your smiling face.
That was really beautiful, Jeffrey G. This was part 1. It's the foreplay to get everybody in the mood. Now we're going to take you deeper And I'd like to introduce the next part here, which is a video that we put together, and it features the music of Patrick Bernard, who is also a Vaishnava devotee, and also Grammy fame. He composed and orchestrated an album of Jeffrey's poems called There Is Only One Love, and this is available on Spotify. And you can also go to patrickbernard.com. This poem is called A Lotus I Blossom.
O my beloved, I long for your touch. The wind blows your name across the sea. Everyone says that I love you too much. But too much is never enough for me. My darling, I see you in every face. Their eyes, twin gates to your mystery, shine like stars in the vastness of space, sparks from the endless sun of your beauty. My dearest, I hear your voice in my ear when they tell me our love can never be, whispering messages, calming my fear, filling my heart with your ecstasy. Sweet lover, I dream of a kiss from your lips. My dream is an endless fantasy. From the well of your mouth, I am drinking deep sips. Like a lotus, I blossom infinitely. Oh, my beloved, I live in delight and wait for the day when again I see your body with mine in the endless night, loving you into eternity.
Yes, Patrick was in the ashram at the time that the Change of Heart album came out, and like many of us, we left our guitars and musical instruments and other things behind when we went into the ashram as celibate monks. And he told me this story later on to Sandi and I when we met him. He said, I was in the kitchen one day in the temple, washing pots and cleaning up after the dinner that had been cooked for the whole temple. And this music came over the loudspeaker, and it was Michael Cassidy's album, the one that he and I did together, A Change of Heart. And when Patrick heard it, he began to cry, he said. And he, the next week, went out and got his guitar and began to play and write songs again. And so he became one of the greatest that the Krishna consciousness movement has produced. Musician, singer, songwriter, artist, exquisite artist. He lives in Quebec. He's Quebecois by birth, and a marvelous, beautiful artist in all that he does. And so he was so excited that he put an album of my speaking poetry to music. And it's a marvelous, beautiful album, reflecting his refined bhakti and beauty. And so it is that we not only yearn for the beauty of the divine, but being in this world is a constant struggle just by the nature of the world. Even when we decide to seek which is most beautiful, the world does not necessarily. Our modern world is a witness to this. So this poem is about how much we must struggle as an individual being to stay on track in a very difficult world. And it's called the last thing that I wrote. This poem was written with my blood. In the midst of a hurricane, a massive flood, on the dirt floor of a castle made of mud. I sat as each word dripped upon me from a roof that stretched into infinity, whose beams were carved in the image of my ecstasy. In the ashen shadow of the lunar nodes, I have lived in countless such abodes and walked barefooted down endless, nameless roads. Beneath the wishing stars, who stood aloof, ignoring my imprecations or demands for proof, eating my time, ignoring my age or youth. Alone until my singular focus became a point of light emitted by a flame, burning upon the wick of your sacred name, O Sarvanamavan. Your alphabet has shaped all this and fashioned Indra's net, so all of it is you and yours, and yet a mystery remains for which I yearn, a need I cannot extinguish, from which I burn. There still is more about you I must learn. How have you charmed the world, driven them mad? Why does the rising sun make everyone glad? And why are we trapped in the past of what we had? Who has built this prison in which we dwell? Why is it that all we want is to buy and sell? Is this some lonely island onto which we fell, made of parts and lasting a year or two? A puzzle, it seems, constructed from parts of you. A circle of animals revolving around a zoo, and even this paper dissolves as I pen these words. I wait for you in this forest of absurds, watching the sky for messages from the birds. I sing your names as if you just might hear calling out, beloved one, draw near. Hey, Govinda, oh Bhagavan, my dear, find me, seek me, search with all your might. Hold the lantern steady. Oh, you are my light. These words are all I have to offer tonight. My dreams, the peeling wallpaper on the wall. My hopes, the sound of footsteps down the hall. Your name's the only number that I call. There is no bottle in which to place this note. I cannot swim and do not see the boat. These words of love are the last thing that I wrote. One of the miracles of love, if you've had a beloved, is that you actually begin to see things through their eyes. What a gift. The more people we know and we're friends with or beloved with, the more they let us into their heart, and we see through their eyes, and they show us the world. And each one of us, each one of them is a facet of Bhagavan. Each one is a window into the ultimate, is a facet of that beauty shine down here. And so all of us who feel that way hunger for Bhagavan, and eventually we start to see the world through Bhagavan's eyes. Seeing through your eyes. Dear Bhagavan, it has finally occurred to me that I am seeing everyone through your eyes. So let me apologize on their behalf, but first for myself, sadly, the foremost fool amongst them. I too have wasted my life in vain pursuits. You must know how lost we are. So it amazes me how patiently you wait inside of every heart? How does your love remain so constant? Where does your inspiration flow? It appears that unknowingly, they are imitating your autonomy. Their ego shell was designed to withstand the fear of death. Their senses make them selfish. Their passion obscures the mind. Competition with one another makes them blind. Private interest has usurped your throne. The voices of your divine friends are drowned in the cacophony. The noisy onslaught of consumption fills them with everything but you. They steal your pennies but miss your gold. Meanwhile, the world is shrinking, being diminished at a terrible rate. Perhaps someday we all just shrink too small to be of any harm. But where have all these rats come from? What has taken their vision away? How do you stand the foolish chatter of everyone asking for things while never loving you? How do you forgive the cruelty, the disregard for life? I see them now through your eyes, but mine are filled with tears. I want to help them grow, but they are so ugly, I only flee. How does the endangered species teach compassion from within the zoo? Is this your final lesson? To watch them ruin your lovely planet? Smiling and teaching them love? Breathing their toxic fumes? I speak of your perfumes, shamelessly promote your beauty, cry at the mention of your name. But only now do I see them the way you see us all. It is almost more than I can bear to love so much, wait so long, that they see you in me. The final lesson of Bhakti Yoga is that in spite of the grandeur and immensity of the realm we see around us, the highest destination is the simplest, and so we overlook it. If you've ever had a child, had anyone that's beloved to you, even a pet, there's something in that moment of sweet intimacy. There's something, just that taste is the taste that everyone is really hungering for. And so it is said that Bhagavan's eyes, the Supreme Being's eyes, are just like lotuses when they bloom. And when those lotuses bloom, the fragrance pours forth from the flower. And think of that as the love that pours from his lotus eyes, the title of our next poem. It was twilight once again, so the restless stars were winking, trying to get our attention. Look up here without blinking, O lost and lazy mortals. We are the shining guardians of unseen cosmic portals, protectors of those bastions. But eons passed in stony silence, and the crushing depredations wrought their mindless violence, burning libraries and nations, until the planets held a council, standing together in the sky, focusing their common will on the truth that will not die. Then, from his slumber, Vishnu awoke. There, in eternal paradise, he glanced across the blinding smoke, and love poured from his lotus eyes. Love in the form of blazing spirits, streaking toward the earth aflame, racing through the night like comets, in concert chanting his holy names. Striking the world in unison, they reach the waiting wombs of mothers praying for daughters and sons who would bring light into the tomb. Unseen, unheard, those angels dove into the swirling earthly fray, holding the wish of eternal love, shining their light to show the way, down, down, down to the depths of matter, scattered across the globe in every place, to the bottom of the celestial ladder. In human bodies, they hid their grace. And in those bodies cut and torn, they were wounded and abused. With the pains every Savior has borne, they suffered their divinity unused. For coming into matter, they had forgotten the sacred mission for which they were sent, the holy task for which they were begotten, the eternal purpose for which they were meant. But now is the time, O children of delight, to drive away the demons of doubt and fear, to stand again and shine your truth and light, to speak that truth to every ear. And when they did, the darkness faded like mist before the rising sun. Peace returned where love invaded. Every child was safe, and all were one. Calling all devas, now is the time to shine the light you have come to bear. Devas awake again to shine and broadcast this message everywhere. And so it is that love pours from his lotus eyes. And all who understand turn in that direction and say, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Please remember me. Please look upon me. Please inspire me to be like you. And please help me to be of healing rather than harming influence while I'm here. It was twilight once again. So the restless stars were winking, trying to get our attention. Look up here without blinking, O lost and lonely mortals. We are the shining guardians of unseen cosmic portals, the protectors of those bastions. But eons passed in stony silence, and the crushing depredations wrought their mindless violence, burning libraries in nations, until the planets held a council, standing together in the sky, focusing their common will on the truth that will not die. Then from his slumber Vishnu awoke. There in eternal paradise, he glanced across the blinding smoke, and love poured from his lotus eyes. Love in the form of blazing spirits, streaking toward the earth of flame, racing through the night like comets, in concert chanting his holy names, striking the world in unison. They reached the waiting wombs of mothers, praying for daughters and sons who would bring light into the tomb. Unseen, unheard, these angels dove into the swirling earthly fray. And that is all of us. now. There's another place spoken of in the Veda, demonstrated by the avatars. And if you think about it, here on earth, the symbol of our joy, when we're really ecstatically happy, is that we dance. With abandon, we simply dance. In our ecstasy, we let go. We raise our hands. We spin and turn in the freedom of beauty and love. And so it is said that in Vrindavan, in the ultimate abode in Brahman, Shri Bhagavan dances with his beloveds. That rasa dance, that sweetest of all sweet dances, is what we bhaktis dream of. The dancing goes on. While there in Vrajamandal, that most lovable source of all created a secret garden of pleasure, wishing to finally reveal that the love in our Atma is real, in unlimited ways that no one can measure. But you cannot learn to enter without an experienced mentor. To go inside, you must have a knowing guide. In that sacred and secret place, one only enters by grace. Like maidens, serve a bridegroom and bride. So, be gentle and pure. Be patient and learn to endure the material chaos swirling outside. Turn your hungry senses within, from the barren land of the skin to the secret realm that is waiting inside. So come with us now, quietly. Be sweet like the deer and the cow. Be soft like the loving eye of the doe. Leave your worldly wisdom and be who you are with humility. Who you truly are and not what you know. In Vrindavan, the desire trees give any fruit that they please. All the blades of grass are aware. Each flower has every scent. The Brahman environment only exists for love to be shared. So like the seasons revolve, and just like emotions evolve, changing the mood of the set with each scene, so the loving props are not fixed, but change with your mood and are mixed in an image that finally appears as you mean. So the content is finally yours in the immortal world of amours. You will look like the love that lives in your heart as you sincerely aspire with sacred serving desire. The director of all will give you a part. Now be quiet and watch. For the secret love here is much more subtle than any you have ever seen. Here, the gurus are gopis, Bhagavan's girlfriends, that is, and they do not always say what they mean. There, the Ishvara is Krishna, and you are the learning Shishya, the conscious one learning how to be. And the ultimate female divine, so the enlightened rishis opine, is a young girl named Radharani. Thus Krishna is attraction, and Radha is reflection. Observing them both in a glass, she is the secret teacher, but he only wants to reach her and she wants to give him all she has. It is Madan Mohan, the ultimate one, who finally awakens the Kundalini. But Kamadeva's attractor can't resist Miss Reflector, for she is Madan Mohan Mohini. And though she is his queen, the loving go-betweens in their torrid affair are the clever gopis. They are there in each tryst, when they dance or they kiss. Those so-called girls live only to please. And there in the elegant sari, that young girl is a manjari. They train with the gopis in the secrets of bliss. Someday when they're finally grown, they will learn to dance on their own. And Govinda will teach them to kiss. This sacred and intimate circle gave birth to the ultimate miracle, the secret of the orbiting planet's ellipse. With the stars looking on, the revolving moon and sun are Radha and he, lip to lip. While dawn and dusk every day are their flirting glances, they say, the moon shows the moods of their joy. But who would possibly guess that the cosmos is actually this, the loving embrace of a girl and a boy? The ultimate sources of all, dressed up for a cosmic ball, which is held in a forested glade, are all dressed up for the part, dancing their heart to heart, while the rest is simply a masquerade. And so, at other times he hides, so saddened Radha decides to die in the Vraja forest alone. Then all the gopis weep at seeing her death-like sleep, unconscious there on the ground like a stone. And just then Krishna comes running. He fell again for her cunning, so he kisses her lotus feet in his sorrow. And she peeks open her eyes. They're in lover's paradise. It is just another scene in the show. It seems to make no sense in a world where barbed wire fence and dangerous borders are all that we know. And so we think it erratic compared to the static. This madness of loving ecstasy, this forest of endless bliss, that loving wilderness where the wildness of play rules supreme, where an endless sweet love affair always fills the fragrant air. But is all this only a wonderful dream? Well, seen from inside out, that is the human doubt of the Atmas who return again to rebirth. It is just too much love to believe, so they hurry up and leave, back to sadness, from laughter and mirth, but do feel free to return. We are all here only to learn, and the joyful dancing goes on every day. By choosing shadow or light, by holding pain or delight, you have been there now, and you now know the way.
And as I mentioned to you before, when they have these poetry gatherings or poetry slams, everybody pops their fingers like that in great appreciation. I'm just blown away by pretty much everything you've opened your heart to us in a very intimate way. And we've been drinking the nectar of your meditations through our ears. And it just reminds me of so many things, and I won't get into anything right now, but just the one phrase in a prayer that we chant every morning, Manaso Rasena. Manasa meaning the mind, and rasa meaning the taste. So the advanced Vaishnavas like yourself relish within your mind the taste of these pastimes. They're not like, we see a movie, we hear some song, I want to thank Brad also. I heard a little bit of Whiter Shade of Pale on the guitar. That was very sweet. One of my favorite songs. But this is real. And I think we could all feel from you the realness in your heart, and your words portray your heart. So thank you so much for that. And we're just blessed to have that. So Kavindra is very kind. He's going to be available in a few minutes to take some, have a nice conversation. It's not like question and answers, but a nice conversation about some of the emotions that have been awakened this evening. So we're going to have, I believe, Govinda at this point, Sandi. This is a song that when I first heard it, as you mentioned about Patrick, it brought me to tears. Just one line, celestial herdsman, lotus-eyed one. Coming from my musical background, I had never heard such a phrase. Celestial herdsman, lotus-eyed one. I don't know how you found it or how you came up with that, but that one line has penetrated my heart for more than almost 50 years now, practically. So thank you so much. And so we'll hear it, and then after that, we can have a conversation.
Lord, the sun's effulgence hide your face. Your blissful form lies far beyond my eyes. But now your wonders call my heart's embrace, as dawn displays your beauty in the skies. The rainbow shows the colors of your dress. Movements of the moon reflect your mind. Your smiling is the cause of happiness, and love exists because you are so kind. Oh, Govinda, within my heart, celestial herdsman, lotus-eyed one. Your precious gift of love impart. Oh, you who stand behind the sun, you're the one. You're the one in my heart. In my flow forth from your veins. The clouds that fill the sky come from your hair. The seeds of life are watered by your rains. And from your breathing blows the mighty air. My Lord, you are the source of all I see. Your movements are the passing days of time. You are the resting place of all that be, and love exists because you are so kind. Oh, Govinda, within my heart, celestial herdsman, lotus celestial herdsman, lotus had won. Your precious gift of love impart. You stand behind the sun. You stand behind the sun. You're the one. You're the one in my heart. In my heart. In my heart.
Every time I hear that, it brings tears to my eyes. I'm trying to hold it together here.
Me too.
I've known Jeffrey for 25 years, and I have run into hundreds and hundreds of people who have heard that song, and they all say the same thing. It just broke their heart open, and especially when they know the stories of Govinda. So thank you, Jeffrey, for sharing a lifetime of poetry with all of us. I just wanted to make a quick announcement here before we move on. The poem that Jeffrey read, Love Pours from His Lotus Eyes, was one of the very early poems that he did when he was in the ashram. And there was a book that came out of that called Love Pours from His Lotus Eyes. We're going to republish that one because the poems in that one, they're just stunning. And the one that actually was in our book called The Night We First Met. And that was an award-winning poetry book here that we published about 10 years ago. So Love Pours from His Lotus Eyes is in this one, as is the words to Govinda. So you can get that on our website, jeffreyarmstrong.com, or you can order it from Amazon. And tonight we had a taste of a poem, the epic poem, the last one that he did, called The Dancing Goes On. It is actually a segment of an epic poem that Jeffrey has been working on for years on the creation story. So that one we will be releasing in a few months, and that'll be available. It'll be called The Countless Worlds, an epic creation story. So we'll announce that one on our website when that's ready. Before we go into a conversation, I wanted to introduce Brad Leslie here. Jeffrey, I'll turn it over to you. Brad has been in the background playing, and it's been just lovely to hear him. Jeffrey?
Thank you so much, Sandy. And yes, Brad Leslie is a fellow mystic, dear friend, yogi for many, many, many lifetimes. And this lifetime, an exemplary adult who takes young men who are finding their way out on journeys in nature, a sort of indigenous Caucasian, right, who lives in both worlds and walks in both worlds and plays music in both worlds. So Brad is a dear friend of ours, and as you can hear, a wonderful and exquisite musician. So thank you, Brad, for joining us.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
And now, just one more poem. Oh, maybe two. Okay, just one. This poem, there's a particular stage of bhakti in which the mystic has a direct conversation with Bhagavan. And it's the same as in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says to Arjuna, we're best friends, I'm going to share this knowledge with you of myself. So this is a very important thing to remember, that one should never become pushy, aggressive, and fanatical regarding this message. It should always be tasteful, sweet, friendly, and personable. And so, the one who is devoted to Bhagavan really does become best friend. And from best friend, some even become dearly beloved, the ultimate pinnacle of intimacy. But if you think that the everyday relationship is best friend, then it's a direct conversation. So this poem is called You, O Bhagavan. You are the number of which I am only a fraction. This temporary world is but your reflection. You are the total of which I am just the remainder. You are the statement to which I am just the rejoinder. You are the sequence in which I am merely a digit. You are a giant, and I, of course, am your midget. You are the form of all, and I am an angle. You are the Isha of all, and I am your angel. You are the source of life, its final protection. I am just like you, your golden projection. You are the movie broadcast on matter's screen. I am an actor playing a part in the scene. You are the riddle to which I am seeking an answer. I am your partner, and you the original dancer. You are the cold against which I pull up the covers, the heat that is scorching the world in the passion of lovers. You are the cord that is cut when a baby is born. You are the tears in our eyes when her passing is mourned. You are the moon, while we are the numberless stars. You are the truth, in the presence of which we are liars. You are the forest, in which I am merely a leaf. You are the truth, toward which I crawl with belief. You are the mystery I've been trying to solve, trying to be or running away to dissolve. One day I love you, the next day you drive me insane. I find you in bliss, then throw you away in my pain. You are the light of my day and the doubt of my night, my wish when I pray, my vision in pillars of light. You are the truth who leads me to the conclusion. You are the way I find in the midst of confusion. You are the formula everyone is trying to find. It is you we will see when we are no longer blind.
That was beautiful, you two. We have a special guest, another well-known Vaishnava online, and that is Karnamrita Dasi. She was born in the ashram. Karnamrita, how are you?
I'm so happy being here.
There you are.
Hare
Hi.
Krishna.
Thank you for coming on.
Oh, I look forward to this. I was actually supposed to be driving tonight to San Francisco, and I'm going to drive in the morning. I'm singing there tomorrow.
Oh, you have such a beautiful voice.
Oh,
Carrying
that O Govinda. I actually was embarrassed to send Jeffrey a video for his birthday, but I actually said to him, thank you for being the first English songs in my life. You know, growing up, we heard everything in Sanskrit and we didn't listen to anything outside of the ashram. But when that album came out, it was visionary to me. You know, and we didn't express ourselves. We sang what the other acharyas had already written, which was really beautiful. But this was someone that we knew singing these very intimate, personal lyrics. And yeah, my visual of Krishna was very personal because of that album.
Well, I remember you coming to the retreat and you practically knew the lyrics to every song on those albums.
There isn't one word I don't know.
There's a funny story. Jeffrey's sister, beautiful white girl, was in the beach in Los Angeles, and the Hare Krishnas came along the beach, and they were selling Change of Heart album. And her children are half Black. So she's on the beach with her kids, and the Hare Krishnas come up and they say, "Oh, here, you got to buy this album." And she says, "I already know that album." And they said, "Oh, no, you don't." She says, "Oh, yes, I do." And she sang every word on that album. And they're wondering, how the hell did she know this album? My brother wrote those songs.
Well, I can also tell you that, you know, one of the ways when the Bhakti centers around the country started to develop, they had to have many different means of making money. And one of them was they would sell, I was with my mom in the vans, they would sell records. And that's how I like heard the first time the name like Johnny Cash and these weird names that were not what I was familiar with. But one of the albums we sold was Change of Heart. And
Right.
I would always be in the little passenger seat saying, "That's my favorite." I mean, I didn't know the other ones, but we sold many of those.
Yeah. I know Jeffrey and I were in London one time, and we were president of the temple was showing us around, and he told us the story that when George Harrison donated the money for that temple, what they didn't know was that it didn't come with any of the fixtures. It had been stripped. So they had to replenish all of this, the lights and the door handles and all of this stuff. And the temple president told us that they had raised 800,000 pounds and refurbished the temple based on the sales of that album.
Wow.
I know, we were just shocked. We had no idea. So, you know, Jeffrey's, all that money went to his guru, and we still say we can never pay back our guru. Jeffrey, do you have a comment on that?
Yes, it's so delightful to hear. And I do have a short poem to our guru, and that I thought I would read. And I think this is a wonderful moment, because when you're receiving appreciation and you know that everything you are and everything you became, as the mantra says, Omagana Timirandasya, I was blind, I couldn't see. Gyanan Gana Salakaya. My guru came and gave me true knowledge. Chakshurun Militam Gena Tasmai. My eyes were forced open. Shri Gurave Namaha. And only because this person that I had never known before, who was not getting any benefit out of it, came halfway around the world and opened me, opened my eyes, opened my heart. And so this is a short poem in praise of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who brought Bhagavan and Shri Krishna to the Western world, to the whole world, in a brilliant and courageous act with no money, a small suitcase with a few books in it, in his late 60s. He came alone to New York City. Just as a thundercloud pours rain upon the forest's burning plain, so you your rain of mercy send upon devotee flowers who bend and gently sway upon a breeze, their fragrance offered at your knees. The breeze is soft and gently sighs the holy name beneath summer skies, reflections of your loveliness upon their budding consciousness, while black bees humming gather around to taste the nectar of the sound. You speak, the silver moonbeams dance and fall beneath your loving glance. O Prabhupada, wandering free through Vraja's fields in ecstasy, please place your feet upon my mind. Oh, lead me, beloved, I am blind, and when I hear your soothing voice, I feel my burning heart rejoice.
Thank you for doing that, Kavindra, because I requested you to do that poem, so you've fulfilled my desire by doing that. Thank you so much. And I was telling some devotees here in Atlanta about that poem that you wrote, and just reintroducing you to all of your family, your god brothers and god sisters. And when I described that poem, because you read it to me before, they were so fascinated. So I'm begging you to please submit that poem to the VASA Puja book that all the disciples of Prabhupada from around the world, they submit to poems and writing. So please submit that poem this year. So devotees can hear your voice. They've heard your voice through your lyrics. Now they need to hear your voice again, how you're spreading the glories of Srila Prabhupada, Vedic wisdom, Vaishnava culture. So many devotees don't know that. And I'm trying my best to amplify that and bring that into the fold. So thank you so much. That was beautiful.
You know, I'm sorry, I hope it's okay I say something. I hope that the next year after that, you will present to them, he's a kind and gentle soul.
Wow. Don't make me sing.
It's, you know, the other song that you wrote about Prabhupada and all of his qualities, that you could find all the little, you wrote the song and you knew that that person had met that person. Mm. It wasn't all glories to the son of the son of the son of the moon of the, it was so personal. And I love that you're trying to introduce, you know, one of your godbrothers back to your godbrothers. The irony
Yes.
of that, and yet the sweetness of being 17 together and then 70 together. Like the flavors have grown, and some of us are sharing in different ways, and yet the richness, it has so many seeds.
Truly, truly. And one special meditation I've had for the last few days, I've given a couple of classes in Philadelphia and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And the subject matter was Krishna and the Pandavas visiting with Bhishma. And also Yudhisthira daily, as part of his sadhana, visiting with Dhritarashtra. And I mentioned that Dhritarashtra is really the cause of Kurukshetra. He could have stopped that war because it's his sons, 100 sons. He could have stopped it, but he didn't. So he created so much havoc. There's 640 million people died in the Battle of Kurukshetra. And he is part of that. That's why Yudhisthira at the end, he was also very upset. So many people died. Think of the culture that we live in, or the culture that we've been exposed, which is, Prabhupada called it the glory days, the glorious days of this culture, where the women, the children, the brahmanas, the cows, and the old people like us, 70 plus, that they're respected in the culture. So Yudhisthira, even though Dhritarashtra caused all that pain, he went every day to see how his uncle was doing, offering respects. And the one day when he went and Dhritarashtra's gone, Vidura's gone, Gandhari's gone, Yudhisthira was devastated. So in our culture, and I mentioned this the other day, Prabhupada's godbrothers, there are none of them left as far as I know. None of them left. And to me, I felt a certain level of comfort knowing that Prabhupada's godbrothers were still there. So in our Krishna consciousness movement, devotees like yourself are still there. And as Karnamrita is pointing out, devotees have to take advantage of that. And now other persons who are not members of ISKCON or the Hare Krishna movement, like Brad and various different persons, they're getting the benefit of the wonderful heart and culture that you have developed over these years. So I feel honored to be able to work with you, to quote unquote, reintroduce you to your family. And I know they're going to be so proud of what you've accomplished over these years. And I tell everyone about your 75th birthday. People from all over the world glorifying my godbrother. I'm thinking, well, what ISKCON needs to glorify such a devotee. What you've done, I mean, 800,000 pounds you collected without even doing anything. You didn't take a dime. That should be appreciated. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure, before I leave this mortal frame, to make sure that you were brought back into the family in a very powerful way.
When I first met Jeffrey and was introduced to his poetry, I was up, I'll type a few poems for you, I would say. And I started, and 3 o'clock in the morning, okay, one more, okay, one more. I just got so addicted to the flavor and the emotions that this poetry brought up that I promised him, and this is 25 years ago, I'm really falling back on my promise here, that he would be a famous poet while he's alive, because most of these great poets are only famous after they die. So it's my challenge now for the next year. And thank you, Benny, for your support in helping me get Jeffrey's poetry out, and everybody else Brad, thank you very kindly. Everybody who joined us tonight, thank you. I know when most people say it's a poetry night, everyone scoots the other way, but I don't know. I can't imagine a world without poetry, and I can't imagine a world without the poetry of Kavindra. So thank you for joining us, and I'll give Jeffrey the last word. Good night, everybody. Jeffrey G.
Good night.
Thank you so much, Sandi. Well, it is a celebration, isn't it? And nothing that I do, nothing that I've done in the last 25 years that my beloved and I have worked together is all because she's so remarkable and so dedicated. And I say she has 10 arms, maybe 20, but she does so much. And it's just such a grace. As you were telling the other story about, I had a thought you might enjoy. Sandi and I were at the Los Angeles Krishna temple one day, and this Russian guy walks up to me, particularly relevant in the times we're in, and he says, thick Russian accent, "You are Jeffrey Armstrong?" I thought he was KGB or something. I said, "Yeah, why?" He said, "You're a Change of Heart album?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Russians love your music." He said, "We bootlegged 10 copies into Russia, sold millions. Millions of people in Russia love your music." Nice. It was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. That it's just Bhagavan does what he will. And we hope we can do something, just something to participate. And so I know for sure, we finally found out that in somewhere's numbers are about 30 million albums between the three that Michael and I did, went out around the world. Somehow they're out there. and we're just who we are. We're just a couple of young men who at the time were trying to do something in service to their guru. So this is a miraculous and wonderful thing. And it isn't we doing it, we know that. We know when we're used as an instrument. And I am the pen when these poems come out. I am not the writer. And I know it, you can feel it if you listen. You can hear it if you listen. And I do. I listen to them and I cry. How's that for you? So there's something amazing in this bhakti as a yoga that could be a medicine if we carefully share it with the world in such a way that they're hungry for it and we're their best friend. I believe that this poetry reading is a part of what I know Karnamrita is a leader in, and I know that Balabhadra Das is, Benny Goodman is, and many others now, what I call the Vedic Renaissance. It happens when a reawakening of beauty is the medicine for the world. It doesn't happen to people, it happens because they're hungry for it. It happens because they want, and we all want, that love and beauty and that exquisiteness in our life. And that is my hope, our hope. It is the hope that drives Balabhadra Das and all of the beloveds that are following in the footsteps of our Guru. So thank you, Balabhadra, for hosting this through Vedic Friends, for all of you, for Brad making such beautiful celestial music. And we had about an hour to rehearse, but we've rehearsed being best friends. And so that makes the music part easy. And so to all of you, may this music play in the hallways of your heart and mind, and may you hear it when nothing else is beautiful. May you hear that beauty. And that is the grace of Saraswati, using us as instruments so that in your worst moment, you will remember the voices of that which is the most beautiful. Thank you for joining us. Back to Sandi.
Well, if we could all applaud, give Jeffrey a big round. He was just wonderful. Benny, thank you for sponsoring this with the Vedic Friends Association.
Thank you, Sandi, for all you do. It's
Oh,
without
my
you.
pleasure. I have a vested interest. I can't wait for the next poetry night. It's with all that we do, for me, this just opens my heart. And I probably won't be able to function for the next few days because I'll be in such a state of bliss. Good night, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Hare Krishna. Good
Thank
night.
you to our team behind the scenes, Brad, everybody else that was out there. See you again soon.